was demand, theory of demand. So this is theory of supply, a logical extension, correct? So because demand and supply, they're considered as two sides of the same coin, correct? So in demand, in theory of demand, we learned the psychology, the mindset of the buyers, the consumers, and it's anybody's guess what we are going to discuss under theory of supply. That is, we'll be dealing with the mindset or the psychology of the sailors. Need just one more confirmation. I am clearly audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, okay,
Yes,
okay, 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 okay. Thank you. Okay. So, theory of supply. And the first thing that you're going to learn, or maybe the first question that crops up is, what is supply? That's the obvious question when we are discussing a topic called theory of supply. The very first question that crops up is, what is supply? And the answer is right before you in the very first paragraph. Supply is an economic principle that can be defined as the quantity of a product that a seller is willing to offer in the market at a particular price within specific time. Correct? So now that is a very self-explanatory definition. I don't think you need to understand any other thing. Like I don't think you want an explanation for me that what is supply, which is right before your eyes. But one thing you need to understand from this statement, in fact, two, three things, but one very important thing that you need to understand from the statement that you see, from the meaning of supply which is written, that you need to understand the difference between supply and stock. S-T-O-C-K, stock. Not the other stock I'm talking about, S-T-A-L-K, correct? S-T-O-C-K, stock I'm talking about. So the difference between supply and stock. Now, why it is important to understand the difference? Because very often people who are not very familiar with economics, they consider stock and supply to be the same thing. Just two different names, but concept-wise they're same thing. But that is actually not the case. Usually there is a difference between stock and supply. Correct. Stock is a very common word. We all make use of this word. In our day-to-day conversation also. So, what is the meaning? What is the difference between stock and supply?
Stock is of greater quantity.
Supply comes from stock.
Exactly. Supply comes from stock, very correct. So what you need to understand is, for example, if a seller, if a producer, if a supplier, whosoever it is having some finished goods in his or her godown. Let's say, just for number's sake, let's say 100 quintals of finished goods, 100 quintals of sugar, let's say. Now, we cannot make
Hello, sir, you are not audible.
I was not audible for a second. Now, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I was not audible. Okay, so coming back to the example I was just citing, suppose the stock in the godown of a seller is 100 quintals of sugar. We cannot make a statement that the supply of sugar for this supplier is 100 quintals, because that is his stock. That is not the supply. That is not available in the market for purchase by the consumers. But suppose he releases 40 quintals to the market. 60 quintals is still there in the godown. So that 40 quintals will be considered as the supply, not the entire 100 quintals. Correct. So understand this difference. difference. Very often, as I said, we tend to mix up things. We tend to assume both are same in meaning, but they are actually not. Correct. So, as you said very correctly, supply comes out of stock. Okay. So that is the first thing you need to understand, the difference between stock and supply. The second thing is, which is mentioned here, also, as you can see, market at a particular price. The second thing that you need to keep it in your mind is that in economics, we always associate supply with price. Means you'll never find out statements regarding supply without any mention about price. Whatever statement comes on supply, that comes at a price. For example, supply of sugar is, as I said, I was saying 50 quintals at price, let's say 4,000 rupees per quintal or 3,000 rupees per quintal. So supply and price, they always come together. So that is the second thing I want you to remember. And the third thing you need to remember is, within specific time, we always attach a time dimension to that also. So even the earlier statement I made was not entirely correct, unless there is a mention about the timing. So what would be a correct statement on supply so far as economics is concerned? For example, citing the earlier example, supply of sugar for supplier A, let's say, for the month of July 2021, for example, time July 2021 is 40 quintals at price 3,000 rupees per quintal. So everything is taken. Supply is taken, which is different from stock. Price is associated, which is a must in economics. Again, time is also taken, correct? For the month of September, when I said, so that takes care of the time also. So remember these three things: how supply is different from stock, how supply is always associated with price in economics, and how there is a time concept always attached to that. So these three things you need to remember. So that is supply. Very easy to understand. Okay. Now, various economists have extensively studied the behavior of sellers and producers and farms. As a result, they arrived at a generalization of the behavior called the law of supply. So very similar to a law that we discussed in the previous unit, that is law of demand. So by the very same logic, we have a law which is equally popular, and that is called as law of supply. So as it says, various economists, various people, they have extensively studied the behavior, the psychology of buyers, not buyers, the sellers and the producers, the manufacturers, the suppliers, and they have generalized this, which is known as law of supply. Correct. And what is law of supply? What is law of supply? As opposed to law of demand, which says price and quantity demand are inversely related, which we have already discussed. As opposed to that law, which is law of demand, according to law of supply, there is a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied of the commodity. That means, according to law of supply, when price of a commodity rises, the seller will want to sell more, that means supply more, and when price decreases, the seller usually decrease the supply. Of course, that same phrase will still be an integral part of the statement of law of supply, and that is ceteris paribus, meaning other things remaining constant. You will have to mention this phrase here also if the statement will be wrong. One more thing I would like to say here. I will hold a surprise test on some other day. Correct. I guess this is not new to you, because all your theory teachers must have taken your surprise test. Am I right? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Did you hear me what I said?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Okay. So I'll be holding a surprise test someday in the same class timing. So be prepared for that. Okay, and that will be the marks you will be secured will be a part of the total mark that out of 100 it will be calculated. So that mark will go into your, what do we call it, grade sheet, will go to your grade sheet. So the reason I am saying all these things, because you should not be taking that exam very lightly, and since the very name of the exam will be surprise test, so I can't tell you the time, the anything. I cannot say anything on the exam. Only thing I can say is it will be on this unit 2, that is theory of supply. Correct. So that is at best I can say, uh, and that will be a surprise test. Correct. How many marks? How many questions? What will be the type of question? Nothing I can reveal, and I haven't planned yet. But only thing I have planned yet is I'll be holding a surprise test for all of you. So be ready for that. Okay. Okay. So coming back to the statement of law of supply, as I said, just to, since I was saying something else, again I'll repeat that according to law of supply, price and quantity supplied are directly related, positively related. That means when price rises, quantity supply also rises, and vice versa. When price decreases, quantity supply also decreases, keeping other things constant. Or ceteris paribus, full stop. Now, any questions here? Any questions?
Sir, the spelling of ceteris paribus is RUS or
Yes,
RIS?
Thanks. It is wrong here. Correct. It is wrong here. It is RIS. Thanks. Thank you so much for at least doing. That means you're looking at this slide. So yes, it is wrong here. It is RIS. Ceteris, not ceterus. Okay. So okay, that is one question, and I have answered that. Any other question that came to your mind instantly? Okay, no question. Okay, so as I said, you need to mandatorily write this phrase ceteris paribus, or you need to write mandatorily the phrase keeping other factors constant. Now, why is it so? Why is it so? So now, okay, before that, one more question you may ask, or that may come to your mind, is that what do you mean by holding or keeping other factors constant? And to give you answer to that question, we'll have to look at the assumptions. Again, another one more time, it is wrong here. Ceterus, because from the whatever sources I was copying, it was there. So this is the side effects of copying without taking care. So yes, I confess this is actually a wrong spelling here. It will be RIS, ceteris, not ceterus. Okay, so as I was saying, so the question, the very question that arises here is, what do we mean by the term or the phrase keeping other factors constant or ceteris paribus? So these are so the answer is, these are the factors that must remain constant. From 1 to 5, all these factors must remain unchanged. And what are those? Number 1, price of other goods is constant. Price of other goods is constant. Like we had same thing we had assumed in case of law of demand also, and the same assumption we must take here in law of supply, and that is price of other goods is constant. Means what? Price of all other related commodities must remain constant. For example, uh, if you're talking about anything, if you're talking about, let's say, Pepsi, if you are analyzing law of supply for Pepsi, you must assume the price of other related commodities, thumbs up, Coke, they must remain constant. Correct. That is one assumption. You may find why you'll definitely find that these assumptions will be highly unrealistic, but nevertheless they are assumptions of law of supply. Number one, I already told you, that is price of all related commodities must remain constant. As I said, if we are discussing about law of supply for Pepsi, we must assume that price of related commodities like Pepsi, thumbs up must remain constant. And also, what other related commodities must also remain constant? If I'll have to say, if I'll say price of sugar also must remain constant, will you disagree with me? If I'll say price of sugar also must remain constant, will you agree or you will disagree?
Yes, sir. I agree.
Why? Why will you agree?
Sir, because in making coke, sugar is required.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Because now you remind yourself one of the questions that you had got in this mid-sem exam. I don't exactly remember, but the question was, tell us both the commodities are Pepsi or Coke or car and gas. Do you remember the question?
Sir, it was apple and oranges and car.
Exactly. Whether the two commodities are apples or oranges or car and gas, right? So yes. So why two different categories? That means the simple question there was tell whether the commodities are substitutes or complementary. There, the simple question was tell whether the both commodities are substitutes or complementary. So that means both are related because both are related commodities, be it substitute or complementary. So same thing I am here I am saying. When it says price of other goods is constant, other goods means other related commodities. It can be substitute, it can be complementary. So when I'm naming Coke and thumbs up as substitute for Pepsi, because they're substitute, they can be replaced in place of Pepsi. When I'm saying sugar, I am talking about a complementary commodity, and yes, definitely you agreed very rightly. So I'll have to assume price. So if I am discussing about Pepsi's supply, then I must hold price of sugar to be constant also, because sugar is also an ingredient which is used for making Pepsi. Correct. So both price of substitutes and complementary, any substitute, any complementary commodity which is available for the said commodity, the prices must remain unchanged. That is one. Number two, there is no change in state of technology. Very, very important. And again, you'll find this highly unrealistic, but same. I'll say the same thing. You'll have to assume there is no change in state of technology. Changing technology is not allowed. If in case producer changes the technology, and which is a fact, which happens very frequently. Producers, manufacturers, sellers, suppliers, they keep on changing the technologies, right? If producer is there, he may change that production technology. If supplier or seller is there, maybe he or she may change the transportation technology. Whatever is the technology here, they should not change. No change in technology is allowed, be it production technology for producer, or as I said, transport technology or any other technology which is associated with supply. They should not change. That means the same technology which was there must continue. You cannot change the technology. That is one. Price of factors of production remains the same. Another very crucial factor. Price of factors of production means price of inputs. We are talking about output supply. And the assumptions we must take here is, another assumption is that price of inputs also must remain constant. Price of inputs means price of raw materials must not change. It should remain constant. Price of labor means wages of labor must also remain constant. Price of every raw material, every kind of input must remain constant. That is an assumption. We cannot compromise on this assumption. Okay, now before can anyone answer in one line? Can anyone answer in one line why these assumptions? Why these highly unrealistic assumptions? Can anyone answer? What will happen if we will not take these assumptions?
This will affect supply.
Anyone? Yes,
Any
yes.
changes made in them.
Any changes made in?
Any changes made in the assumption will directly impact the supply.
Yes, yes, Asutosh. Thank you for answering. Yes, like this simple answer. Hope you remember the same answer on my same question on law of demand. While discussing law of demand, if you remember, I had asked you the same question. And in fact, I had elaborated upon that why these assumptions were necessary for law of demand. The simple one-line answer I had given is that unless those assumptions are taken, there would be no certainty, there would be no guarantee that there will be inverse relationship between price and quantity demand. And the same answer I'll be giving here. Why all these assumptions here, all these 5 assumptions here, and the same answer? Because unless we assume all these things, there would be no certainty, there would be no guarantee that there would exist a direct relationship between price and quantity supply. That law of supply says. Law of supply says. Correct. So Asutosh, yes, you're right in saying, because if price of other goods is not constant, then God knows what will happen to the direct relationship. They may not relate to each other in a direct way. There could exist an inverse relationship. If what I'm saying, if price of other good will not remain constant, then there would be no certainty of the direct relationship. Maybe the relationship will become inverse. Same thing for technology. If technology does not remain constant, then again there would be no certainty of a direct relationship. Same for factors of production, price of factors of production. If input prices are changing, if raw material prices are changing, if labor prices are changing, then there would be no guarantee of a direct relationship. Correct. And same for the rest too. If there is there is no change in taxation policy, the government should not change its taxation policy in between, because that is quite evident. Government does change the taxation policy from time to time, but here it is not allowed, because again it can affect the direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. So taxation and goals of producer remains the same. Even many producers have different goals. Of course, we do acknowledge that profit making is more or less the major goal of every producer, but we cannot say it with conviction that it is for all. Correct. Maybe some other producers have different objectives. Maybe some producers have objective of revenue maximization rather than profit maximization. So different objectives, but whatever is the objectives, they should not change. They should not change. I was expecting another question from you, and sadly I didn't get that question. Correct. And that is why I'm not very happy. I'm a bit upset, because I was expecting a question from all of you. Correct. And that question is, should I tell you the question? Because you didn't ask me. Why should I manufacture the question myself? Or should I?
Sir, I have one question, sir.
Please.
Sir, can't the assumption of law of demand and law of supply be the same? Why are they different?
Very good question. But this is a very good question. This is a very good question. Okay. No, the first answer is no. They cannot be the same. At least not all of them would be the same. Reason I'm telling. For example, let us state. For example, here it says price of factors of production remains the same. Correct. Price of factors. Now, this assumption cannot be an assumption under law of demand, but this assumption certainly should be an assumption of law of supply. Why? I'll tell you. You see, price of factors of production remains the same. Now, I'll have to elaborate. I was actually planning to skip it, but since you have asked this question, and I'm happy you asked this question, and I have this moral duty to answer this question. For example, as I said, price of factors of production remains the same. This cannot be an assumption under law of demand, because to put it very simply, first thing, under law of demand, we discuss about the psychology or the factors that can impact buying behavior. Correct. But in law of supply, we are discussing the factors that will impact the seller's behavior, the supply behavior, right? So why this is an assumption here, price of factors of production remains the same, because how it works, we'll have to understand. Why it is an assumption here that price of raw materials should not change. Why this assumption is taken? Because if price of raw materials will change, that may affect the supply, because that, you see, that will not directly affect the supply, that will indirectly affect the supply. How? The first thing it will affect directly is production level. If price of factors of production, if price of raw materials will increase or decrease, that will have a direct bearing on production. And production, when it will be affected, ultimately it will affect supply. Now, how can this factor be a factor under law of demand? And same way, under the factor we consider under law of demand cannot be factors here. For example, one of the assumptions under law of demand was the taste of the consumer should not change. Taste preference, if you remember, that was one of the assumptions. Now, you said taste and preference, we cannot take the same assumptions here. For example, I'll say the taste and preference of the supplier should not change. How that matters? How that matters here? But that certainly matters in case of law of demand, because the buying behavior or the buying behavior of a consumer largely depends on the consumer's taste and preference. So that is why when we discuss buying behavior of the buyers in law of demand, we certainly included that factor. But since here we are discussing the seller's behavior, that is why whatever factors are compatible here, we have included those things. For example, the one I just cited, price of factors of production remains the same. Factors of production, because that is related to production, and production is related to supply. So that is why we cannot make all the assumptions as same both under law of demand and law of supply. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, but I was expecting another question from all of you. I was expecting another question from you. And Ashutosh, in particular, you must have asked this question since I find you. Say.
Sir, one more question was there, sir. Sir, in the law of demand, one assumption was there that size of population should remain the same. It should not change. So, sir, if the size of this should also be an assumption under law of supply. Why is it?
You can say so. Yes. You can say so. See, okay, very good question. Another question. Assumption under law of demand, and you see that was very convenient to include that under law of demand, but it will be slightly inconvenient for me to include this assumption under here, because I'll tell you why. You see, size of population, correct? Size of population, and India is having close to 140 crores of population, correct? Now, all the 140 crore population, each and every one of these 140 crores, they are consumers. All of them are consumers. I am not saying out of that 140 crores, 30 crores are sellers. Even if they are sellers, but the entire 140 crores is consumer community, that entire 140 crores. But can we say with the same conviction that 140 crores is the supplier? Yes, but I can understand, like I understood your logic. You're saying, but if we can certainly take the same assumption here, because again, like if we'll take the same assumption here also, that will amount to, if population size will increase, उसमें से तो कोई ना कोई तो supplier होगा या seller होगा, या फिर population size is decreasing, there is every chance that some suppliers are dead or some sellers are dead. If there is some reason for population degrowth, there is every chance that out of the, let's say 10 crores died, there is every chance that out of the 10 crores 5 lakhs were suppliers or sellers. Yes, that makes sense to reason that way, but as I said, it was very convenient and it was very convincing to include size of population under law of demand, but we don't find that kind of conviction to include here. Do you understand, Asutosh?
Yes, sir.
Population remains the same. How that is going to affect the supply? But yes, if I'll try hard, I'll be able to explain. I just explained you. But don't you think it's very easy to understand when we find the same assumption under law of demand? Because entire 140 crore population are consumers. Even the suppliers are consumers. Even the producers are consumers. Even the sellers are consumers. So that is why it was, since it was convenient for me to include that under law of demand, I had included. And since it is not very convenient for me to include that here under law of supply, that is why that assumption doesn't find any place here. So yes. Asutosh, any other question?
No, sir.
Okay. So I was expecting a question. I was expecting a question from all of you, and that question is on the very statement of law of supply. Maybe you understood, that is why I didn't ask. Maybe I am assuming that you didn't ask and I am getting disappointed. But let me raise that question. The question I was expecting from you is, nobody asked me a question on the very relationship between price and quantity supplied that law of supply talks about. And law of supply says there exists a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. Correct. Nobody questioned that. Nobody questioned that because I was expecting a question from all of you that you'll be asking me, sir, how you're saying that price and quantity supplied are directly related. No, we don't think so. We think that price and quantity supplied are inversely related. And you would have explained me through some logic that, sir, see, price and quantity supplied are not directly related. They should be inversely related. And you would have given me a logic like this exactly. Sir, when price rises, and since you are already gone through unit 1, you would have applied all your wisdom that you have learned from unit 1. You would have gone like this. Sir, when price will rise, quantity demand will decrease. That's what we have learned in law of demand. And when demand will decrease, supply is going to decrease, because demand and supply are very close to each other, very related to each other. And when there will be less demand, there will be certainly less supply. So when price rises, supply should be falling. And by the same logic, you would have said, sir, when price will decrease, we all know law of demand says that demand will rise. So less price will result in more demand. And when there will be more demand, there will be more supply. So that means when price would be falling, quantity supply would be rising. So how are you saying that price and quantity supplied are not inversely related, and you're saying unlike law of demand, in law of supply, price and quantity supplied are directly related? I was expecting this question to come to me and with the kind of defense I just cited, the kind of explanation I just cited from your end, but I did not get the question. So do you find the question I just raised convincing, or
Yes, sir.
have you started thinking that way? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, correct. So this is definitely a question. Now, you know why I was expecting this question. I beg your pardon. You didn't ask me, you didn't commit a crime. The reason I was expecting this question is just because of a foolish reason. The foolish reason was when that was taught to me in my college days, I had raised this question. And not only me, and some of my friends also, we had raised this question to a teacher that, sir, how come it is possible? Because all our learnings of law of demand was still fresh in our memory. So the moment the teacher started that price and quantity supplied are directly related, we pounced on him with this question, sir, how is it possible? Correct. So okay, so that will be the last thing for today. We have 3 minutes left, so I'll answer. Maybe, okay, time is short. You see, the statement is absolutely right. The statement is absolutely right. There exists a direct relationship. And the question I created, the question I just raised is correct, but I made some mistakes here. And what are those mistakes? The first thing you need to do is, when you're analyzing law of supply, you need to look at law of supply strictly from a seller's perspective, strictly from a producer's
Profit we have to
perspective.
consider. Profit of the
Profit, yes, profit you will have to consider. But the first thing, as I said, you need to look at supply from a seller's point of view. You cannot look at law of supply from a consumer's point of view, because you see, if it, because consumers will definitely look at supply from a different perspective. A consumer's psychology can never be same as a seller's psychology. They are entirely different. They're polar opposites. So the first mistake I committed, I was pretending to commit because I thought you would be thinking on the same line, that I was looking at law of supply through a consumer's glass, which was absolutely wrong. Because you know why? Because we did not look at law of demand from a seller's perspective. You remind yourself, all our discussions on law of demand. Did you look at law of demand from a seller's perspective? You never did that. And you need to do the same, because, and you had not tried because we all are consumers. So we didn't have to try. But we need to try here because we are not sellers. We are not suppliers. We are not producers. So there will be slight difficulty, but we'll have to take this difficulty, that we'll have to look at law of supply through a seller's glass, through a supplier's glass. And as you were saying just now, exactly, what's the logic? The logic is, when price is rising, that necessarily means we'll have to assume this. If it is not the case, we'll have to assume it, that it increases the profit margin. It increases the profit margin. And that is why there'll be every temptation on the part of the buyers, on the part of the sellers, to increase the supply. And what happens when price decreases? The profit margin decreases, and the seller will not have that much of incentive. The seller will be discouraged. And that is why he or she will be prepared to sell, offer less commodity to sell. That's how. Another thing, the last thing I would say is, the last thing I forgot instantly. So these are the two things. I remember now. The last thing is, see, the thing that you must keep it in your mind is, the producer is increasing the supply. When price is rising, the producer is increasing the supply. Increasing the supply does not in any way mean that supplier has already sold the commodity. Are you getting my point? The consumers are not taking, because you will challenge me, sir, how come if the price will rise, the consumers will buy less? Yes, that may affect. See, it's not that easy to understand. So that is why I'm segregating things. So price rising, supplier increasing the supply does not mean at all that the supplier has actually sold more. Price falling, quantity supply is falling, doesn't mean that the supplier has actually sold less. That depends. You see, actual sale in the market depends on the interplay between demand and supply. I'll surely take up that interaction between both demand and supply when I'll finish this. But as of now, you need to keep these things in mind. Correct. So any other question you may ask, or keep it in for next class. And
sir, one last question, sir.
Please,
sir, the
please,
question
please.
the question that you gave in the exam, sir, what was that? What was its answer, sir? Apple, orange, or car gas?
I don't remember what was the question. What was the value you got?
Sir, we got some positive value and it was in
Positive
decimal, I
means
think so.
positive means substitute. First one, or apples and oranges. I am
Sir,
answering on the
0.8,
basis of.
I think so.
If
0.8
it is
was the answer, I
positive,
think.
if it is positive, correct, then it is apples and oranges. If the answer was
Yes,
in
sir.
negative, then it will be car and gas. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I
Okay.
get this.
Okay. 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 Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Asutosh. Okay. All of you take care. Bye bye.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.